Hey, are you already using AI in your work? Surprisingly, everyone in the room had raised their hand. But the follow up question is, do you know exactly when and how to use AI? And that's where not a single hand in the room went up. We want to be on the top of the curve, we want to improve ourselves by doing the coolest thing out there, but we really don't know how to implement it and how to make it actually effective. In this entire session, I'll try to walk you through how you can use it in different stages of your product management lifecycle, whether you are currently a PM or are aspiring to be one. Once you're in that role, you should realize how to stand out from the entire set of crowd by leveraging AI. Hi everyone, super excited to have this session with all of you. So, the way I generally take these sessions is I'll walk you through a couple of learnings and basically try and get you acquainted with how you can use AI to improve your productivity. In the meantime, if you have any questions or any doubts, feel free to add them in the chat. At the end, we'll have some time exclusively for Q&A where I'll try and address any of the questions you have. What I would like to understand, or you can just, do a quick hand raise to share. Are you already using AI in your work? I see very few hands. Okay, interesting. We do have a small number of people who are using AI in their work. So in another sessions where I had, given this talk and I asked people about, hey, are you already using AI in your work? Surprisingly, everyone in the room had raised their hand. So that was heartening to see. But the follow-up question is, do you know exactly when and how to use AI? And that's where not a single hand in the room went up. So I know that as product managers, all of us want to use AI. We want to be on the top of the curve. We want to improve ourselves by doing the coolest thing out there. But we really don't know how to implement it and how to make it actually effective. I mean, it shouldn't be a buzzword. You should be able to take something back and be able to implement it. So, in this entire session, I'll try to walk you through how you can use it in different stages of your product management lifecycle, whether you are currently a PM or are aspiring to be one. Once you're in that role, you should realize how to stand out from the entire set of crowd by leveraging AI. I'll start with why you should use it and when you should be using it. After that, I'll detail out the steps about how you can implement AI and we'll work together at a live demo. So I'll use ChatGPT and together with all of you as participants, we'll try out some really interesting prompt exercises to understand, the best prompts, the best questions to give to the agent so that you get your desired results. And at the end, I'll share some resources so that you can continue learning. I mean, it does not just have to end at one session. You can go back and keep on implementing it every day. So this is a really interesting meme that I come across. And as product managers, we have to juggle a lot of tasks. The best thing we can do is try and stay on top of managing our day, managing the customer meetings while staying calm. So on a typical day, a product manager in their role, and this is also I'm sharing for all the aspiring PMs out there. As a product manager, you're working with your customers who have a set of requests coming in, feature requests, backlog requests. You have to work with your engineering team and help them planning out their sprint, prioritize which feature needs to be picked up. At the same time, you have to present something to the leadership team. And to manage all of that, you have to create meetings to manage the data for meetings. So that's just an endless list of jobs you need to, juggle throughout the day. Luckily, you can now use AI. And the way I see it is let AI handle the repetitive so that you, as product managers, can focus on the creative. And isn't that why we all try to be product managers? We aspire to be PMs so that we can focus on the pain points, empathize with our customers, rather than, just do the grunt work, maybe create a lot of Jira tasks and look at what the thousands of feedback queries from customer is saying, which is manual labor. So let's try and see how we can focus on getting the maximum impact using AI. So this is an interesting research done by LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is where most people get get their courses and studies done from, they analyzed which role in the entire industry is trying to upskill themselves on AI. Of course, across all divisions and roles, people are trying to learn AI. But not surprisingly, product manager and its synonymous roles are the ones using AI to upskill themselves at the topmost priority. And there's another data which validates it further. So it says that if you're a product manager who's using AI, you would be able to save on an average around 1.5 hours per day. And that's a huge number. Imagine you're saving 1.5 hours every day just by using the right set of resources available to you. And most of these are free. You don't even have to pay or get into custom mechanisms, as we'll discuss later on. Now, in the typical product management fashion, I had to come up with my own acronym. So I call it the SAS Framework. There are 3 places where you should be using AI, and they are summarize, analyze, and strategize. So wherever you're given an opportunity, try and break it down into, is it one of these 3 buckets? If yes, then you should definitely try and see where you can use any generative AI tool. So I'll break down each of these one by one. Let's first look at summarization. So taking a step back, as a product manager, one of your core jobs is to go through a lot of data. This data could be coming from customer feedback, where you're a product manager for, let us say, physically sold product or even a software application. And there's customer feedback pouring in through the forms of emails and Play Store, App Store ratings. You have to go through all of those thousands of queries of data. And the second is where you're analyzing the sentiment about how people are receiving your particular feature or an improvement that you added to a product. It might not be well received. There might be some harsh criticisms. You need to analyze which segment of the population it's doing well for versus what are the tweaks you need to make. And finally, analyzing user behavior trends. So maybe there's some seasonality to the feature that you rolled out, or maybe it does well for buyers who are purchasing it on Saturdays. Maybe you need to work out something else for school going students. So all of these detailed interactions, either you can do it manually by parsing through loads of data, but obviously now that we have AI, we can save our time and let it do the grunt work. So I've listed out a few tools on the screen here, and one call out I'd like to make: the AI scenario is pretty dynamic. Most of these startups, they're changing their product services, offerings day by day. So I'm not prescribing any of these resources, but what I'm trying to do is give a blanket list of what are the tools available to you. And maybe you can do a simple Google search that, hey, I want to analyze customer feedback. Which are the tools available to me? So that you're able to best leverage the resources. You can use freemium versions of it or even the first trial versions. So whenever you're given a lot of data, try to ensure that instead of manually parsing through, you are using some generative AI tool to help you go through the bulk of data. The second category I want to call about is analysis. And this is where you can get a second opinion from AI. In fact, one of the most interesting things I've come across is when you ask ChatGPT or any generative AI tool to role play and act as your mentor, or maybe as your coach. So let's take a situation. I'm a product manager at Microsoft. I look at the product called Teams, if you're familiar with it. Specifically for Teams, I'm looking at it in the education space. So how schools and colleges actively use Teams. Now, as a product manager for Teams, I've been a student. So I could empathize with, okay, these are the top 5 pain points of students. And we should make it fun. We should add group chats. We should allow students to collaborate with each other through one call button. But I've never been a teacher, and I don't know what teachers would want from it. I did some customer interviews. I reached out to some of my clients. But how do I ensure there is no bias creeping in? How do I ensure that all the global teachers are represented, maybe not just from my country or from the category of school that I have been? I want to be holistic in the feedback that I create, in the problem statements that I take back. And that's where generative AI agents are really helpful. So you can simply ask a generative AI tool to, hey, can you role play as a teacher and help me understand what are the pain points you struggle while taking a virtual virtual class for fifth grader students. And now with this problem statement, I can get feedback of the pain point from teachers across the globe. I can ask generative AI to be very specific that, hey, you're a teacher in Vietnam. What are you struggling with? Versus, let's say you're in Europe and you have some compliance policies. What is the top of mind thing you want to be addressed when you're taking a virtual class? So this way, sitting in your room, you can get, all the customer feedback that you've been trying to get. The second is solution validation. None of us are immune to basically, bulletproof ideas. And we would all like to have someone who can, let's say, play the devil's advocate and just find out poke holes before we actually fail in front of a customer. So try and use AI to identify how your solution could go wrong. Maybe you're missing a blind spot, and it is very easy to come across maybe, pointers, especially for things where you don't even know that these exist. So let us say that I'm not even aware that there is a category of higher ed teachers who are teaching some immersive experience class. I'm not even familiar of such a category. Then how would I include that particular category in my problem statement? So the idea behind it is use any generative AI or chat tool and ask them that, hey, this is my solution. Do you think it could fail? If yes, can you suggest top 5 areas where it would fail so that your solution at the end is bulletproof? You're able to cater to problems and user segments which you had never previously thought of. The last one, and I think this is really important, is how you can have a personal assistant in the form of an AI. As I previously mentioned, as a PM, you're juggling between meetings, and at any given day, I have around 15 different chat threads open with different people looking at all different types of work. It's very hard to stay abreast, and I generally forget a lot of things. So the best way to do it is use any agent where you can dump in all your brain thoughts that, hey, I have to reply to this customer's email, I have to reply to my manager's email, versus get back to the engineering with the prioritized list of features. By this time, can you prioritize my list of tasks which needs to be done? And it's a perfect assistant. It will tell you which item you need to do first so that you can meet all the deadlines. It's like having a help at your hand. Again, there are a lot of industry tools and it takes some getting used to it. But Coleto and ClickUp are really helpful. You might need to get the paid membership to be able to utilize the full benefits. But even without it, a simple ChatGPT query or a ready to reference model will be able to help you out. And the last one is strategize. So just to recap, we have talked about summarization, analysis, and now we are discussing how you can use strategy in AI. The first one is whenever you're trying to create solutions, which is very similar to what we discussed earlier, trying to poke holes, identifying your ideal solution. I don't know how many of you follow Lenny Ratchetsky. He's a very famous product manager. He has a very nice podcast as well as newsletter. So if you're not following Lenny, you should. And basically that will also help you stay up to date with what's happening in the product management world. But one of the favorite prompts he's highlighted is predict what could go wrong in the execution of this feature. Again, that would help you understand where you're missing out your key spots. The second one is roadmap creation, and that's a massive task. I mean, for creating my team's roadmap, which is a 6-month long plan, we generally take 1 month of time and effort to analyze which are the features which should go in, discussing with sister teams, engineering team, how long will each item take. There's a lot of back and forth, customer validations, manual effort, which goes into it. Try and use tools like roadmap.ai, where you can try and quickly get features prioritized with the help of an AI agent to achieve a certain metric. So if my metric is increasing revenue within the next 6 months, I'll feed the requirement along with, let us say, getting some feature suggestions so that they can be prioritized and given accordingly to what I'm trying for. The last one is stakeholder presentations, and I really love this. So especially when you're presenting as a product manager to your senior leadership team or to your CEO directly, you will be faced with some harsh questions questions, because at the end of the day, as a product manager, you're answerable to them if your product fails. You go to them with an idea and ask the CEO for resources that, hey, I want to develop this feature, but I need 10 engineering resources. Of course, you'll be faced with a lot of questions and you'll be haggled about what will this revenue get me? How much users will you get me? So try to get some AI agent to role play as your CEO. And if your CEO is a famous personality like Dipinder Goyal or anyone else, you can simply ask that, hey, assume you're Dipinder Goyal, look at my deck, and can you post any questions or any doubts that you have after seeing this content? Do you think this idea looks good enough? Or maybe I need to refine it further. You can also use tools like beautiful.ai to simply just prettify your presentations instead of manually having to, create and spend time in making a PPT better, where you could be using that same time to brainstorm creative solutions. So just to summarize, we have covered all the three ways: summarize, analyze, and strategize about how you as product managers should be using AI. Now let's talk about why it's not simply enough to use AI. We need to be using it better. So like we discussed earlier, a lot of us in the room are using AI or are trying to use it, but we are not really sure if the way we are using it is correct. And that's where the prompting techniques come in handy. Let's take a step back. So when Google search came new, not all of us knew how to search for queries, all of, how to operate on the model. In fact, I still remember how my parents use Google search. They would like type complete sentences and try to say that, hey, I want to buy this product. Can you give me a link? Versus me and my younger brother, we just simply type the keyword for it and get results. We, over a period of time, have evolved our searching patterns to get the most accurate results. Similarly, generative AI is just another tool where you're supposed to give in an input, and the quality of your output depends on the quality of your input, where input is nothing but the prompt that you're giving. So I believe in the rule of three. So again, I'll give you three prompting techniques which I believe are the best. The first one, the type of prompt which you can use using AI, is the RTF framework. And just make a note of these, because following the next slides, I'll give you an exercise where these might come in handy. So in the first one, you're using generative AI to help you answer in a very specific format for a specific task, a job that needs to be done. So as a product manager, I've called out that summarize customer feedback from this survey, highlighting feature requests in the format of bullet points. So I've been very specific about what I want and in the format that I want. I could have said, give me a table or give me a SWOT analysis. So use this technique to get in the specific format that you're looking for. The next one is one-shot learning. One-shot learning has actually a couple of variations. There's one zero-shot learning or few-shot learning, where the number of shots means the number of examples that you're giving to your model. Now, in this, what you're trying to do is you're trying to teach AI. Imagine how you would teach a student that, hey, apple is a fruit. Now give me example of another fruit. So you've already given one example and you're looking for the other. So in this example, I'm telling AI that, hey, I'm giving a product requirement such as improve app performance in a low network condition. Now give me similar product solutions. So it already has one example, one reference line, and it will use that to populate in the same model the list of others. And the last one is instruct GPT. In this, we provide absolutely clear instructions for precise outcomes. So here I'm trying to just give it orders that, hey, analyze this set of data. It's more like how you would authorize a computer program or a robot that walk 2 steps ahead, take a right. No rules, basically no additional variables or conditions there. Now, let's do a live demo. All of you, let's just get ready. You can type your prompts in the chat, but let's take the situation where you are a product manager for a B2C mobile application. Maybe your mobile application has millions of users across the globe, and you're receiving user feedback across various portals. Now, these portals, this is not an exhaustive list. The list could be from Play Store, App Store, wherever you've launched your mobile application. Maybe some customers are happy, they're emailing you, or they're angry and emailing you. You have some social media handles on Insta and LinkedIn. So you're getting feedback from all of these portals. Now, as a product manager, you want to analyze this feedback and, try to see what's going good, bad, and use all of this feedback to shape your next 6 months backlog plan. So take a minute to think about it. What is the prompt that you would like to give to any generative AI agent to get this backlog plan? You can type your prompts in the chat. Okay. I see one interesting prompt. Let us see how this one performs. I think this is incomplete, but I'll still type the following. I'm a product manager for a B2C. I think this is the same as the text that I had provided. Let me copy the one which Somyondo has written. So now, if you look at this particular feedback or this particular prompt, it's done great at giving me what needs to be done. It has told me that I need to aggregate the data. I need to categorize it into feedback buckets where features can be analyzed on the basis of whether it's a usability issue or a performance issue. And over a period of time, I need to analysis the trend. So again, the generative AI response is good, but it's not helping me exactly pinpoint what I need to do or how I need to do it. So I'll give a very simple example. One good thing you can say to generative AI is analyze the feedback and tell me what to do. But that's very open-ended. And as soon as you make it specific, let us say, I've asked it that you are a feedback analyst. Walk me through 6 months of data. Just let me copy the prompt that I want to use to do. So in the prompt, I hope it's visible. I'm asking the generative AI model to summarize top 3 pain points and feature requests from the feedback data and presenting the output in a very specific format. What difference this query makes is instead of having a lot of data that this generative AI model has just given me, and I don't know exactly where to start, it clearly calls out that I need 3 user pain points and feature requests from the following feedback data. Give me the output in bullet points so that I understand where to go and how to start with it. Similarly, one of the prompts that I really like using is, let's say I am a product manager trying to analyze my app compete with other competes and want to ensure that, maybe let's do a SWOT analysis and highlight the strengths and weaknesses. So I can type something like this. Let me type Teams and Slack. So I'm trying to do Teams and Slack's compete analysis and trying to see how users find it in terms of usability and group management. Again, I've given it a very specific number. Give me 3 key strengths and 3 weakness of each platform. I can make it further better in a tabular format. So that gives me the very precise output that I'm looking for. So it will create a table with a strength and weakness analysis. It's not a complete SWOT analysis, but we're trying to get there. I see some really cool prompts in the chat as well. I'll try to find someone which looks useful and see how it works. So as you can see, the table here is pretty actionable. I can see exactly the strengths and weaknesses, get a summary at the end. I'll copy one from Chandral, the prompt that has been shared. I'm sorry, I'm struggling with copying the data from chat. So this was a very detailed prompt where it asked the user to identify high impact issues and summarize it in buckets such as regional trends, insights, give me actionable steps, which includes recommendations for improving user experience, and summarize these insights with categories, examples, and again, actionable points. With this, I can really understand how to use it, go ahead and basically the areas that need fixing. So again, all it comes down to is how strong your prompting game is, how effectively you're able to utilize generative AI, and which tools and methods are you building it on top of. So I'll go back to the presentation and we'll continue it from there. Finally, use AI to transform the way you work. You've learned about the 3 frameworks on when and where to use generative AI, which is the SAS model, summarize, analyze, strategize. And you've also learned about 3 prompting frameworks, including RTF, one-shot framework, and Instruct GPT. And finally, you've played around with a few examples and learned that, hey, how a different prompt can have a completely different analysis for the same set of pain points. To continue on this AI learning journey, I've written a book, AI for Product Managers, perfect for absolute beginners as well as even mid-level professionals, because it delves into what are the different parts of a product management lifecycle. I've broken it down into 3 phases: crawl, walk, and run. So, in the crawl part, you're just becoming familiar with the history of AI and how it has evolutionized. In the walk section, you learn to become familiar with a few terminology so that when your developers are using words like transformers and ML models and NLP, you don't feel left out. You understand what's happening in the room. And finally, in the run section, I've detailed out how to use each of these tools that I've talked about previously in the slides and how you can use them in your everyday role in the stages of a product management lifecycle to get a complete understanding and be able to use it. It also has some prompts guide. So you can simply copy paste the list of prompts that are there in the book. You can scan. I've given a lot of QR scanners in the book, so you can scan them and start using the tools. That's all I had. Thank you, everyone. So I see the first question is, would love to hear more about your role as a product manager of Microsoft. How does your day-to-day role and responsibilities look like? Okay, so I can take that one. It largely depends on where I am in the product roadmap lifecycle. So as we've been talking earlier, if I'm in the planning phase where I'm trying to decide the next 6-month backlog, it is mostly an activity which I'm trying to do within the product peer of my fellow product managers, and trying to understand which of the features need to be prioritized out of 10 other product managers, and all of us have our own list of features, versus, let us say, I'm in a normal everyday product life cycle where the feature is being developed. So if I try to make it generic, it starts with identifying the user pain points, where I try to collect what are the struggles or new feature requests that users are giving it out, to building a few solutions for them. That includes ideating on the solutions with my design team and engineering team. Once the solution has been identified after brainstorming with the key folk, I create a product roadmap document, or a spec as we call it internally. That spec is then passed to the engineering team who works on developing the particular feature. And occasionally they reach out to me with any follow-up questions. But apart from that, I'm pretty free when the team is working on the development of a feature. So I use that time to think about new feature pain points, and I've set up a few rhythmic customer one-on-one sessions so that I can stay in touch with how my customers are feeling about the product. After that comes the shipping of the feature, which is really the fun part. We have a few public Instagram handles, social media handles where we try to do GTM activities. I create blogs and articles which get posted on the Microsoft website about how the new feature looks like and maybe why schools should test it out. And at the end, I just keep an active lookout for any feedback or feature comments that we're receiving for the item that was rolled out. And that cycle just keeps on repeating for every new feature that I do. Next question, how to collect data, especially for sources like social media chats, comments, messages from Play Store. Main point is how to collect, which tools, which automation or AI tools. That is a very good question. Sometimes you can use your web scrapers to parse through data from Play Store and App Store. You can use publicly available web scraper. You'll have to Google search for the common ones. Mostly for if you have your own app which is launched on the Play Store, you get all the data from Google Play Store on the registered email. Same is the case for App Store. So if your product is, from the same domain that you've listed out your product, you'll be receiving all the data. You can also ask the Play Store and App Store profiles to send it in a specific format, but you generally get all of that within your developer console tool. So you can play around with it. Once you have the data, whether let's say it's in an Excel format or PDF format. You can change around it. You can play and make it an JSON format and understand which AI tool works best to analyze this set of input or data. How about using a RAG here? Well, RAG is retrieval augmented generation. So you generally use RAG when you want to customize your AI agent. So you might have seen that we played around with ChatGPT earlier, and it was very generic. If I had told ChatGPT in the beginning of my session that, hey, these are 5 documents you should refer to. Now, you can also upload files in ChatGPT. These are 5 documents, and this is, the universe of what I'm working on. These documents talk about teams and my role as a product manager. That set of documents makes ChatGPT understand who I am, and that makes, it more contextual, which is what RAG here. The next one I see, any discount codes for ordering the book? I'm afraid no, it's at a very cheap price. If you want, you can also get the Kindle version of it, which is at a more discounted rate if that works for you. Uh, Hi, Chhavi, can you suggest tools that are useful to refine the prompts? Yes, in fact, what I would suggest is go and ask. There are actually 2 ways. I personally don't like asking ChatGPT to give it the best prompt for the same problem statement. I've seen it over optimizes on things and I don't get the result that I'm looking for. So I won't advise that, but some people find it helpful. So you can simply ask ChatGPT that, hey, this is a situation, give me a good prompt. Or the second thing is you can follow Lenny's newsletters. They have a list of prompts which are applicable under different situations and scenarios. So, and the last is you can build your own prompt library where you're refining what works well, what does not work well, using some prompt frameworks. So the 3 frameworks that we talked about, you can try and use those same and improve your existing prompt by just making it more, contextual and by adding more data to it in a certain format. I think that should do the trick. The next one is not every company allows ChatGPT to be used for internal data. Yeah, that is a very tricky one. And I can understand how some companies are scared about using AI tools because of the data privacy and regulations. In fact, even governments don't know what to do with it. The other day, I was talking to AI legal head at PwC, and they were also apprehensive about the future because they're definitely sure that AI is here to stay, but no one knows what we're planning to do with the rules and data boundaries, who will manage all of that. So the best advice I have for you is look for tools which do not store data and it is a clear data. In fact, let me navigate back to the chat GPT screen that I was just using because I had opened a temporary chat. So what this means is it does not store any of my data. I don't know if you can see the hovered input over here, but it says that it's not storing any of my data and it's more like, an incognito version of what a web page would be like. So all of this data is only for this session and no one, including ChatGPT, will have it. Maybe this works for you. Maybe you can find out other tools and resources that your company is okay with using. Many of these models and agents claim that they'll not be storing your data. Um, Sure, I'll try and share the deck so that you can reference the list of tools. You can also order the book. It contains the list of this and other tools that I've wanted to discuss. I'll just take 1 or 2 more questions. I think we're on time. I've been told by industry people in product industry that product managers are now like project managers. What would be your take on this? Well, this is interesting because from what I see, product managers are responsible for owning an end-to-end development of a specific product versus for project manager, you're looking at, let us say, a pipeline of things, and the pipeline of things could be an industry where you're developing cars and you need to keep on ensuring that the tools are built in the right way versus they're changing. There's no end to end role connection with the customers, and data feedback or continuous evaluation, including an agile process. So I think the product management role is here to stay. It would just be changing in some of its applications about how you're using AI and the top roles and priorities. Maybe product managers will not manually spend a lot of time writing specs because now some of it would be helped using AI. But you'll be spending a lot more time analyzing and doing creative thinking. Let me move on. There's another question which says product experimentation, A/B testing was AI before AI models. Now, with products as widely as Microsoft meets, what changes have you seen in experimentation, especially in how consumers interact with the product? Okay. So if I understand correctly, this is about how we are evolving product experimenting using AI models. Maybe that's it. So the way I'll call it out is AI has definitely increased the speed of product development. Earlier, what used to take 4 months to be developed, now it's down to 3 months, not, if not two. And this growth will continue to accelerate. And ultimately, yes, it is easier to ship out features at a faster velocity and increase the overall life cycle. Maybe I can get customer feedback and analyze it, do it all in 2 days, what would take me 2 weeks to do earlier. But apart from increasing the speed and the quality of it, the life cycle of it remains same. So what it has resulted it in, there is a faster velocity at which features go out, get rejected, or maybe get approved. So at the end of the day, we are able to do simply a lot more with lesser resources in a shorter period of time. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone trying to break into the field or level up their PM journey? For anyone who's trying to break into the product management field, I would advise you to first make sure that this is the role you're trying for. You're not just running away from, let us say, one of the sister roles that, okay, I'm not happy as a software engineer, maybe I should become a PM. Ensure that you have likeness for the PM role. The second thing is, if you like it, do you have an aptitude for it? There are a few soft skills apart from technical skills that you need, and there's no denying it. You need to have good communication skills. On an average, you'll be blabbering at least 3 hours in a day. You need to ensure that you are able to clearly communicate what the customer wants to the engineering team. If your communication is not good, the feature will not be what the customer actually wanted. So there are a few soft skills that you need to watch out for. And if all of these align, if your interests align and if your skill set aligns, then there are a lot of courses which will help you break into product management. I think that's it for the questions. We're almost at time.